Kelim Perik Chavches Mishnah Vov. I love this Mishnah, beautiful Mishnah. But there are two complete, distinct ways of learning this Mishnah. Nothing to do with each other. One is the Baal Tanura, which is based on the Shittah of the Rash and the Rosh. It's complicated, and therefore I'm in the mood for making life a little bit easy. And we're going to do the parish of the Rambam and the Gaon, the Vilna Gaon. Matlis shetaloya al hakupa. You've got our famous shmata. We've got a piece of cloth which is tame medras, which means it's an av hatuma. You patch it. Taloya means you patch it onto a box, onto a wooden box. The box has a little hole on the side. You need to fill up the hole. Take a piece of cloth and you patch it onto the box. Says the Mishnah, "Metama echad upeseles echad." That expression just means it's a rishon atuma. A rishon atuma is metama echad because it can make a sheni, and then that sheni can make, in the case of truma, it can make it a shlishi. The truma becomes parcel. So a rishon is called metama echad upeseles echad. It's as if the Mishnah just says the word rishon. Let's have a look at this. The matlis is an avatum, it's a medras. When you finish attaching it to the box, it's gone, it's bottled, it's part of the box. The box is not able to be mekabel tumas medras, it's a box. All the box can be is a rishon, it's a kli kibble. The matlis, the old medras is gone, it's bottle. However, why is the box a rishon? Because as you are attaching it, before it becomes bottle, it's just touching the box. It's an avatuma touching the box. The box therefore becomes a maga medras. The box becomes a rishon atuma. And when you complete the patching on of the matlis onto the box, the matlis is gone, but the box stays the rishon atuma it was when the matlis first touched it. So far so good. Quite simple. So now we've got our box, which is a rishon atuma. You then go, says the Mishnah, hifrishom en akupa. You then take the patch off. You separate it from the box. Says the Mishnah, the box continues to be hakupa, metame echad, metama echad, uposeles echad. The box continues to be a rishon atuma, and the piece of cloth which you take off, says the Mishnah, the matlis tahira. What's happened here? The matlis, it was a piece of cloth. Now it became part of the box. It now loses its shem of a matlis. It's just not a cloth anymore. It's part of a box. When you take it off, you're just removing a little bit of the box. It is no longer the original matlis it was. It's lost its identity as a matlis. It's just a piece of the wall of a box being removed. Therefore, it is Torah, because if you've got a box which is a rishon atuma, and you take a little bit off, that bit is just a broken piece of kli, and it's Torah legamri. Because the matlis became completely bottled to the box, as if the box was a mikveh. Changed the identity, was matayr the matlis. The box stays a rishon atuma. Why not? It was a rishon before, it's now a rishon after. It's not completely broken, just a little bit come off. So therefore the box is a rishon and the matlis is tahor. Got it? Now we're going to come to the contrast. Teloya al habeged. You take this you take this original matlis, which is an avatuma. Instead of patching it onto a box, you patch it onto another beged. Now, this other beged, being a beged, is also able to be mekabel tumas medras. If I attach a beged, which is tomei medras, to another beged, which is tahor, and make one large beged, what's going to happen is, under the rules of chibur, it all becomes one large beged, tomei medras and av hatuma. That's what the Mishnah says. Toloy al beged, you take the matlis and you patch it onto a beged, the whole beged, metame shnayim upeseles echod. That's a euphemism for an avatuma. Metame shnayim, it's an avatuma, it can make a rishon, which can make a sheni, and then peseles echod can be metamel, be poisel a truma to make it into a shlishi. But here comes the real contrast. If after I patch it onto a beged, and if frishom and a beged, I then remove it from the beged, because it was a beged, and I attached it to a beged, and I'm removing it from the beged, it never became bottle legamri. When I attach a piece of cloth to a box is so different from a piece of cloth. The cloth its identity is gone. But when I attach a cloth to a cloth, the original cloth keeps its identity, so that when I remove it again, then the beged from which I removed the matlis, ha-beged metame echod or poser echod, all the beged is now been removed from the original medris. The beged touched that original medris, and although when it was mechuber it became a medris with it, but it also became a maga medris, it became a rishon at the same time. Therefore, when I take the cloth away, the beged, all it has now, it's not the original medris, it can't keep that, but it stays a maga medris because it did touch the medris. And the original cloth, as we expect, stays the original medris it was. That's what the Mishnah says, matlis metamos shnaim u'pesel esecha, like it was before you attached it to the beged. And that's the contrast between attaching a cloth to a box, which is completely different, the cloth becoming bottle, and the second part of the Mishnah where we're attaching a matlis to a beged, where the matlis doesn't become bottle at all and keeps its old identity. And the next part of the Mishnah is just going to change a little bit. Instead of patching the matlis onto a beged, where it definitely does not lose its identity, or patching it into a box where it definitely does lose its identity, what happens if we patch it onto something which is in the middle, somewhere between a beged and a box, for instance? They're both soft materials, but they're not beged. They're not as hard as a box, a sackcloth or an oir. So it says Divrei Rameir, he says, the same thing happens, just like when you attach a matlis to a beged. It does not become bottle. If you attach a matlis to a piece of leather or a piece of sock, it does not become bottle. And while it's attached, the whole thing is mekavalton as medris. And when you remove them, the old piece stays the medris, and the new piece becomes a rishon atuma maga medris. Rabbi Shimon Matar, he says the din of oir and sock is the same as a box. It's different. It's not a beged, although it's soft fabric. It's not a beged, and therefore the matlis becomes completely bottle on attachment. Rabbi Yossi makes a difference. He says ala oir toir. Leather is too different from a matlis, from a piece of woven cloth, and therefore it becomes bottle. However, if you attach a piece of woven cloth to woven sackcloth, ala sok tome mipnei shehu orig, because they're both woven, therefore there is no bittul, and the old matlis retains its identity as an avatoma even after you move it, after you remove it.